And a pleasant good Wednesday evening. I'm Chase Miller, and welcome to another edition of the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show as we get you ready for an extended weekend here with Labor Day around the corner. I'm Chase Miller, and as always, the Coaches Show presented to you by the Hillsboro Economic Development Corporation. This week on the program, we'll talk a little football, a little Kindred football with Eric Burgad. We'll talk Polk County West football as the Thunder are opening up their campaign later this week on YourLiveEvent.com. Eric Olson of the Sargent County Bulldogs will be joining us as they welcome in the Carrington Cardinals on Friday night, also on Your Live Event. From there, a little cross-country talk with Kurt Zink of Hillsboro-Central Valley. We'll also talk with Tyler from Ada-Borup-West cross-country, and our senior spotlight is a future University of North Dakota Flying Hawk football player. That's Aiden Wunderlich from Central Cass. Also, we'll get to our crowning moments brought to you in part by Dakota Heritage Bank. But that and more is still coming up here on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. Let's get to our first conversation with Eric Burgad. Well, joining us here from the Kindred Vikings is Eric Burgad here as they make the jump from 1A to AA here this season for North Dakota high school football. Eric, I'm sure you've been asked a ton by community members and those just in the football style of what's going to be different from 1A to 2A. You played Wahpeton last year, which was a 2A school. You got a little feel for that. You still bring your rival with you with Central Cass. That's a familiar face in the East region. But what's going to be different from your perspective going into the football season here this year, just with that class jump?
Well, I think a lot of things will feel different. Up until the ball is actually kicked, that's when I think it's going to feel normal for the kids. But just, talking about it and what the media says and what parents say and what, just they hear other people talk and, there's a lot of speculation and it's an interesting thing to talk about when a team moves divisions. But ultimately, I don't know that it'll feel too terribly different. Like, I think playing at some of those different stadiums will feel a little unique for us. Like, we've never played at Cushman, and just things like that, where you go play new schools and you kind of learn, like, what are their traditions? Because every home team, kind of has their own unique spin on how they host a game and what it feels like throughout the course of a game. So all that will feel new to us, but I think it'll feel different for the teams coming to us as well. Like for a Red River to come to Grant or to come to Kindred, that'll feel different. They don't this year, but for a South to come to Kindred, I think that'll feel different. So mainly just the stadiums, the venues, and just creating new rivalries and learning who the kids are, the coaches are, all the style of play. I think that stuff will feel different.
Also, something that's a little unique just with how 2A is made up of. Your almost first half of the season is non-region games. Your last half of the season, every game counts for you to make the postseason. So you open up the year against Devil's Lake at West Fargo Horace as the track is still getting some stuff done there in Kindred to make it all perfect. And then you ironically go to Horace the next week, which goes from 2A to 3A, St. Mary's and Jamestown. And I look at those four programs, Eric, and they've had either success traditionally or recent success in those programs, with Devils Lake being a playoff team, Horace winning Double A last year, St. Mary's and Jamestown, they've won championships in the last handful of years as well. So what's going to be a challenge just in that portion of the schedule as you get ready for, as you alluded to, the Grand Forks is the Devils Lakes, so to speak, of the world in the East?
Yeah, just real quality opponents right out the gate. But I think we've had that same feel the last 2 years here in Kindred, where last year we started off our season with the number two in Velva, and the year before that we started game number one with our rival, and it counted. It's I like having opponents like that early in the schedule just because it brings urgency to practice. There's never going to be any layups. Like we got to work for everything. And some of those schools we're familiar with. It's been a while, but we've played St. Mary's. We've played at the stadium there in Bismarck. We've played Wahpeton. We've played Devil's Lake. It was a while ago, but yeah, it's nice to see those teams on the schedule again. Know that you're going to be playing real quality opponents with big roster sizes and quality athletes. So we look forward to that challenge.
What's a trait, if there anything has changed from previous years of Kindred Vikings teams, when folks watch the games in person, come to a Viking game, what do you want them to take away from a Kindred football game on a Friday night, Eric? Win, lose, or draw, what do you want them to see, from your program on the football field?
I always hope they see a certain level of physicality, and I hope they see a certain level of just work ethic, hustle. Like the kids play as hard as they can every single snap. And I think as a program, that's one of the best compliments you could ever get is that when teams watch you, they say, "Man, you're fast. Your kids play really hard." And that's something we're always looking to do, and we're always pushing the boundary at practice on how hard we can go, and how hard we can go after each other to feel that battle tested. So it's muscle memory on Friday nights, but yeah, that's the type of product we hope to put out there.
I know a lot of folks will start with, and arguably so, when you have a couple of first team All-Staters from A, but also they're getting Power Four football offers with Brooks Bacco and alongside with Luke Starcevic. Let's just talk with those two. What's it like seeing their maturation from last year to even this year now being, elder classmen, so to speak, on the football field this year?
Yeah, and they've completely changed since last year. I was talking with Coach Starr the other day, and just after watching some practice film, I said to him, Brooks looks like he's a junior in college right now, just with how big he's gotten and how much stronger he's gotten. And you see that extra, just pop in his step, both him and Luke. Each of them they put 20 pounds on in the off season, incredibly committed to the weight room. So you got to see him as freshmen, you got to see him as sophomores, and they're huge pieces of what we did, arguably the best players on our team. Now I'm excited to see him, just as an upperclassman. They're still sophomores last year. Like you still got, your juniors ahead of you, your seniors ahead of you, kind of looking to take those leadership roles. So to see them a little more vocal this year is cool. And they both have just such good practice habits. And they know and they understand that, okay, when we're in our individual groups, whether it's offense or defense, there's a certain level of intensity that this has to be approached with, and they always meet the mark on that. So when you got kids that are one just like physically really gifted and really talented, but then they practice, they're your best practice players as well. Then you get things gelling, and other guys see it, and they follow those same footsteps. So yeah, both Brooks and Luke having a ton of fun, just like being part of their recruiting process, but even just more happy and pleased with what they bring to our team.
Couple more guys, and I know we can talk about a wholesale of people, but obviously someone at the quarterback spot with Gabe Whipple, we got to see him last year as well. Just what have you seen from his maturation from what it was last year in the role that he came into to where he's going to be this year here on the football field?
Yeah, and Gabe got to play in some games last year. He started five and went 5-0, and just had a fantastic campaign when he got the opportunity. He was absolutely ready for it. And getting that taste of it, I think just made him really hungry. Similar to Brooks and Luke, and similar to a lot of our kids, he had an awesome winter, spring, summer in the weight room, and he's up 20 pounds as well, and his back squat's better. And we had a conversation right after the championship game last year. You meet with each player individually, and that was a huge goal for him, is to put on weight and to put on muscle in his legs, just to be able to withstand, playing offense, playing defense for a full season. And I feel like he's absolutely ready for that. He threw a ton over the summer, and yeah, he's incredibly accurate at quarterback right now. Gabe's got such good field vision and just great touch and finesse on the football. He can make a lot of different types of throws. He can throw the deep ball. He can throw intermediate. He can, put it there in a hurry and throw something on the line. So yeah, great thrower of the ball, and working into a leadership role. And he's got the physical tools to do it now because of how good he was in the weight room this winter.
One more player to chat about here, Eric and Tannen Johnson, someone who, was a tackling machine, so to speak, or around the football. It seemed like more times than not if you would watch the games in person or on film. So similar to his maturation as Gabe, but Tannen, obviously a lot of reps under his system. What do you want to see from him on particularly the defensive side of the football this year?
Consistency. Like he's always such a rock solid player for us because he loves the physicality of football, and you need guys on your team, whether it's on the offensive side or the defensive side, that just truly enjoy the contact. I don't know that every player absolutely loves it, but he is one that does. So he's a really big tone setter for us, and like a mental toughness guy. And when we need intensity picked up at practice, he's one of the guys that we're looking to help with that. So he's growing. We'll play him at both interior spots this year. Last year, he primarily played on the weak side. This year, he'll play a little bit of both. So just trying to expand his game a little bit more, better understanding of the defense and our offensive system as well. But he's rock solid. We get the same thing out of Tannen every day. He comes and he plays hard.
The one thing about this year with 2A and 3A, you're a week behind what A and 9-man would start. Normally, Eric, at this time, you already got a game under your system. So, what's it like as a coaching staff and as a team? Are you chomping at the bit a little bit more to play, knowing that it would be, so to speak, game week? You play a game, you're ready for game two. Instead, you're still waiting for game one now as a program, as a coaching staff, making that jump to 2A?
Yeah, it's been strange. Like since the beginning of August, I feel like I've been 1 week ahead in my head. And it's just like everything feels like it's in fast forward, but in reality, we got more time than we think, which is a great thing when we graduated the number of seniors and the quality of seniors that we did last year. The more practice time you have together, that's best case scenario. But yeah, we are to a point now, before we get into game week here that it's just like, okay, ready for somebody else to hit, but you got to keep the focus. The focus we have these days, and so we got to capitalize on them, stay sharp, and just focus on constant, continuous improvement.
Final thing for me, Eric, and you maybe hit it on the head there. Obviously, we mentioned it earlier, going from 1A to 2A, a Dakota Bowl run, a four-year club from a season ago. So, what's the message to this group of guys as you get ready for that first game against Devils Lake, then play Horace? What's the message to this group moving forward, for this 2025 football team?
Yeah, the message is, and we talk about it a lot, we're nowhere near where we want to be. I think everyone on our team would agree that, there's a part of their game that they do really well, but there's also a part of their game that they can always be improving. And, if you can come to practice each day like that, then you can be like those teams that have had success in the past. But you got to be humble enough and just, smart enough to know that we're not there yet, and you don't get there just by showing up. You get there by doing the work. So that's a lot of what we talk about, and just coming together as a group too. We've had so many lead by examples guys, good vocal leaders in the past. We need guys to fill those roles, but just coming together, and how do you do that? How do you have somebody's back? How do you prove yourself as a good teammate? And whether it's talking in between reps, whether it's learning how to take a mental rep, whether it's just taking the time to give one of your teammates knuckles after he makes a good play. I think all those little things are really, really critical in forming a team, and having success towards the end of the year. So starting at ground zero, absolutely trying to build it up, and just set these guys up for a good season.
Eric, as always, thanks so much for your time and best of luck here throughout the year in 2025.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Thanks for having me, Chase.
And again, Eric Burgad, head coach for the Kindred Vikings. Their opener at West Fargo Horace against Devils Lake. We'll have it for you this Friday night on yourliveevent.com.
Hillsboro Economic Development Committee supports businesses in the Hillsboro community in the form of loans and grants. Experience Hillsboro. There's more at 104.
Welcome back to the yourliveevent.com Coaches Show, brought to you by the Hillsboro Economic Development Corporation. Joe Lancello, joined by Darrin Byklum, the coach of the Polk County West Thunder. Darrin, how's things going?
Good, good. How about you?
All right. You've had a couple of weeks of practice. How do the guys look?
So far, yeah, things are going well. We a few new faces here and there, but for the most part, guys have been given a good effort. And we had a scrimmage on Saturday when we felt we did okay there in East Side. So yeah, things are looking good. Obviously there's room for improvement, but we're liking what we see so far.
How many starters did you lose from a year ago?
I believe we lost 4. There were 4 seniors, good seniors from year before, but we played a lot of young guys. So I think right now we're kind of rolling in about 17 guys here and there on offense and defense, and they got some good experience last year and playing time experience. So so far, it's nice to have that little extra depth here in different positions, and make kids hungry, and it's just work hard, when there's not just you for that spot. So so far so good.
What do you see as the strong points of the Thunder? It might be too early to tell that, but what would you like the strong points of the Thunder to be?
Well, I think right now we see a lot of good stuff, team wise, but up front we got a lot of experience back. I know we lost some dandies up there, but our five interiors have been doing a phenomenal job, and tell them once, get it done kind of bunch that we got, which is nice. But they've did a nice job, and we all know that it starts up front on both sides football. So that's something we're going to hang our hat on. Knock on wood, we stay healthy. Depth wise up front's probably where we had the least amount of depth, but those guys that are there are doing a fabulous job.
Who are some names that we should look for as the season goes on for Polk County West?
I'd say Isaac Edwards and Parker Bernhoff up front, seniors there that have been up there for a while, along with Jack Krause and Alex Reitmeyer's been there, and Dustin Carl, who's a sophomore up there, but he's played a lot as a freshman too. But I think, we're going to hang our hat on those five names right there to get things going. And, and also Nick Satterlund back at quarterback. He has played for us since in 8th grade, so he's made some great strides too. So, there's we got quite a few skill guys that we've been rolling in to see who's going to fit the best. But those five names up front are the ones that we're going to, we hope for those seniors to lead them up there to keep them going where the direction we are going in.
You won your first playoff game last year, then ran into the Mahnomen-Waban Buzzsaw. Do you see them as the team to beat once again in the region?
Yeah, since, they are until someone beats them. So, year in and year out, they're salty, and I'm sure they will be again this year, along with, Red Lake County and Ada. They're usually up there at the top too. So, yeah, we're going to have to come to work. That's for sure. If we want to be the best, we got to beat the best. So we got to work hard, and hopefully at year's end, we'll be in the mix.
Darrin Byklum is the coach of the Polk County West Thunder. They open their season on Thursday night in East Grand Forks against Park Christian. That's an interesting matchup because they played 9-man football last year.
Yeah, and our JV did play them in the middle of the year. We did 11 9-man thing with them, and so different opponent. We don't know a lot about, but I think they threw the ball around a lot on their JV stuff. So if we're gonna have to prepare for whatever, so pass game, run game, whatever it is. But yeah, you don't know a lot about them, so you're gonna have to make a few on-move adjustments. Hopefully not so many, but that's part of the game.
I don't know if you've had to do this, but it seems like there are a lot of schools that go back and forth between 9 and 11-man. How difficult is that to make that switch?
It's got its ups and downs for both of them, negative, positive stuff. Obviously the field is different and not as wide and things like that. So I know years ago when we went 11-man to 9-man for playoffs one year when we first co-opted, it was a change because we weren't used to playing on that wider field and things like that. But when it comes down to the end of the day, football's football. You tackle, you block, and you get after it.
Okay. Darrin Byklum, the coach of the Polk County West Thunder, they take on Park Christian on Thursday night. That is a 6 o'clock kickoff, and we'll have that game here on YourLiveEvent.com, and we'll have some more Climax Fisher football for you as the year goes on. Darrin, best of luck this season.
All right, thank you much.
Darrin Byklum, coach of the Polk County West Thunder. We will continue with the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show in just a moment.
If you have concern or questions about the mental health of yourself or a loved one, Trail District Health Unit's Credible Mind platform offers convenient and confidential resources to help inform you about mental well-being. Credible Mind offers 21 different assessments to guide you in your mental health journey, from sleep quality and burnout to anxiety and depression. To get started today and learn about your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health, visit traildistricthealthunit.crediblemmind.com.
There's more at 104. Hillsboro, North Dakota has everything you need on your next road trip. Food, fuel, fun, and family-friendly activities. Stop by and fill up your tank or grab a bite to eat. Have a blast at Goose River Golf Club, the swimming pool, or one of our beautiful parks. There's even ice skating and cross-country skiing. Take in the sights or stay the night so you don't miss a thing. Experience Hillsboro and see why there's more at 104.
Well, join us this week on part of the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show is Eric Olson here, head coach for the Sargent County Bulldog football team, as yet again, as they've been in the last couple of seasons, making their way from 9-man to 11 or making their way from 11-man to 9-man. This year is more the former rather than the latter. So, Eric, I know you and I have had conversations that you still got to block, you still got to tackle, you still got to execute the things no matter if it's 9-man or 11-man. But what's the one question from the public that you get asked the most moving between, divisions or moving between classes as Sargent County football has over the past decade here?
Yeah, I think the biggest question that I get asked is what's easier, going from 9 to 11, 11 to 9. And honestly, I think 9 to 11 is easier because of the less space that's available on especially on defense with the 4 extra guys. You don't have to take as sharp of angles defensively. And frankly, form tackling, that one-on-one tackle, if you miss it in the 9-man field, a lot of times that means they're scoring a touchdown. 11-man, you might be able to afford to miss a tackle and have someone there backing you up. So I think that's the biggest thing that I get asked. Obviously we're moving into, the schools that are a little bit bigger than us, compared to, we were kind of the bigger school in 9-man. So we kind of fit almost somewhere in between there. But it's fun establishing these rivalries again. Yes, it was only 2 years of 9-man, and frankly, we've played 11-man for, 18 of my 20 years now. So be able to play Oaks, play Lisbon, Northern Cass, get them back on the schedule. It's kind of fun for us, for me, knowing those coaches and for our parents and rivalry. The kids, they play them in basketball, they play them in baseball. So, it shouldn't be anything new to us. Like you said before, it's still blocking and tackling.
The one thing, Eric, I guess that's different from when it was a couple of years ago, you had the Kindreds, you had the Central Casses in the region. They're gone in 2A. Valley City comes down. Obviously, Mayport, CG, similar as you. They've been kind of teetering between 9-man and 11-man the last couple of years. You get to see them now again in 11-man football. Just in terms of rivalries, you lose Weimar-Lidgerwood, you gain Lisbon. When you went to 9-man, you lost Lisbon, you gained Weimar-Lidgerwood. So put yourself in the player's shoes, as you kind of almost alluded to. Is it tough going up against a new team that maybe you haven't seen in a couple of years, or Valley City that you really just haven't had any history of on the football field? Eric, just take us through what that's like as a coach and as a team going through this particular season.
I don't think it's tough. I don't think the kids, have a whole lot of adjustment issues, because they know the personnel of those players that they're going up against, just because they've played them in other sports. So they have an idea of what the kids, athleticism already is just by playing against them in other sports. So, but you mentioned with Kindred and Castleton being gone, and I think that opens up the region quite a bit. It seems as if everybody was kind of playing for third and fourth place for playoff spots here the last couple of years. So, it's going to make things a lot more wide open for the playoff hunt, and there will be some new teams as opposed to the last couple of years in that playoff hunt. So I think that's some excitement, with some of the kids, some of the other teams, I think, in our region. I think for us, it was maybe not the best time to go up just because of the youth that we got on the field here this year, with some freshmen and a bunch of sophomores that are in starting positions. So that probably worked against us, but you're looking forward to that next level of competition, and we got our work cut out for us this year, but we're excited to be back in the field.
And their first two games against two pretty good teams of Park River, Fortville, Lincoln, or Park River area. Folks will probably remember them in terms of what they were able to do for State Babe Ruth, State B Legion, having a really quality team, having those kids play in the fall. And then Carrington just been a team that's been consistent of always knocking on the door of making the playoffs, having really good caliber players out there, Eric, as well. So from game one to game two, biggest thing you want to see is what win, lose, or draw from your team on Friday night hosting the Cardinals.
I think I look especially offensively. We need to be able to execute a lot better. We were in position to make some plays here and there, and we didn't make those plays. We got to shore up some things, and obviously, like I said, with our offensive line, we got 4 brand new players. Well, all 5 of them are brand new on the offensive line. So we've got a lot of learning to do with those guys, but I think the biggest thing I was happiest about against the Park River, even though we got down early after that first quarter, we played with them. And I think our young guys got their feet wet that first quarter and, shook off the jitters, for the rest of, second half and the rest of the game. We don't, dig ourselves a hole in that first quarter. I'm not going to say that we're going to beat a team like Park River, but I thought we competed a lot better the last 3 quarters. So offensively, execution is the biggest thing for us, and it just we're probably going to be undersized every game that we play on the offensive line. So these guys, it's a lot of growing up in a hurry for our front 5.
Let's talk about some of the players here with Charlie Hogness. Just what do you want to see from him continuing on and off the football field here this season, Eric?
You know what? Charlie had a really good first game defensively. We got to get him a little bit more involved offensively. I realized that after the fact. Charlie's a hard-headed kid. He played a little bit as a freshman. He started pretty much all year last year as a sophomore. So I think that jump from sophomore to junior year, we see a lot of kids really mature in between those years. So just kind of be that stalwart on defense of hopefully cleaning everything up inside from tackle to tackle and just helping lead our team. He's not going to be a boisterous kid, but lead by example, and I think he does a really good job of that.
The one thing last year in Maple River in the season opener, I was mentioning Harry Newstall as an underclassman making some plays. How have you seen his growth from 365 days ago, Eric, to where he is now with you on the football field?
We did our height and weight a couple weeks ago, and I thought coaches were kidding me when they had him listed at 215 pounds, and I thought maybe he snuck a couple 5 or 10 pound weights on him when he jumped on the scale. But Harry's an athletic kid, strong kid. He's going to be he's that guy that's coming back on the defensive line that's got experience from last year. Him and Logan Bope. Offensively, we got to get him the ball a little bit more. We're going to try to get him the ball through the air, try to get him running the ball here and there. So, he's an athletic weapon that we got to be able to utilize, and we got to do a better job than what we did last week of getting him the ball. So, just trying to get the ball in space for our athletes and let them make plays.
Final thing, Eric, from a player's perspective here, Ryan Ang, similar question, just how do you want him to be an impactful player for the Bulldogs throughout the rest of this season here on the football field?
Just his leadership. Ryan he's been through a lot of, big competitive matches when he's on the wrestling match with the Lisbon Broncos. So he's the same thing as Harry. He's an athlete, a different type of athlete than Harry is. But he's, he was able to break one in the first quarter, a kickoff return for a touchdown after we sprung a couple blocks for him. And I thought maybe he was going to get chased down and caught just before the end zone, but he had enough left in the tank to get there. But yeah, just getting him the ball, and hopefully the offensive lineman can open up a hole or two, for him to get through, just because he's got that quick burst of speed and shiftiness and low center of gravity for him. Defensively, same thing. He's going to come up and you can tell when wrestlers are on the football field, because that open field tackle is that's a 2-point takedown in wrestling. So just keeping him on the field and having him show some senior leadership for us.
Without question, and now 3 points as well. So you give them an extra point.
3 points.
You're
right.
Takedowns,
You're right.
Going forward, Eric.
I thought of that after I said it, Chase.
You're totally good.
Point.
You're totally good. I still think it should be 2, because you don't hear people yelling 3 compared to 2, on the wrestling mat when it goes forward. My last question, Eric, and we'll end on this. Just as a coach, what do you enjoy about this time of the year for football? I know every team's got its own mold, its own clay that you try to sculpt throughout the year. Some years you're bringing back, a heavy senior-laden, junior-laden team. Other years you maybe got some younger guys that you talk to about this team, Eric. But what do you enjoy about fall camp, game 1, game 2, home opener, season opener, as a football coach once you get to this time of the year?
Just the kids don't understand, how the Friday night lights, how few of them they have in their career. They, some days they probably think practice will never end as a freshman, as a sophomore. But just like that, it's gone, and then you're old and gray and talking about the good old days. But I think football is just such a unique sport where you need 11 guys on the field doing their job in order to make a successful play happen. And if one guy fails, the play fails. So it is truly the ultimate team sport. And when you got 11 guys meshing with each other and working towards a common goal, that's a pretty fun thing to see. So there's a whole lot of little things when it comes to football that, the Friday night lights, the cool fall air, the mosquitoes that you got to deal with, the heat at the beginning of the year, and then the cold at the end of the year. You truly experience all the seasons in football, but there's so many little things that, I hope the kids realize, how good they've got it, how fun this time of their life truly is.
Hey, Eric, as always, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck in your home opener against the Cardinals coming up here on Friday night.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you, Chase.
And again, Eric Olson, head coach of the Sargent County Bulldogs. If you can't make it to the game in person, we'll have it for you on yourliveevent.com.
This week's Dakota Heritage Bank Crowning Moments brings you highlights from your live event broadcasts, celebrating standout performances and achievements from our local athletes. These are the moments that inspire us all. Moments of determination, teamwork, and success. Dakota Heritage Bank, helping dreams come true. Sharing our heritage, sharing our future.
Merrim looking downfield, has a receiver, and it's caught in the end zone for a touchdown. So that's a touchdown for Botno. Landon Solberg. Solberg reaches up with those long arms, hauls it in for a touchdown. 30 at times. And Merrim's going to roll out, has to bootleg out here to the near side, has some running room downfield, cuts it back across on the cutback. He's going to go to the sideline, far sideline, 20. 10, he has one man to beat, and touchdown for Botno. So Merrim takes the ball from the 40 into the end zone, so start it on their own 40-yard line. Give him a 60-yard touchdown run for Merrim on the bootleg.
They trip up receivers on the left side. Gazette in the backfield, pistol formation with Lushik. Rolls to the left, looks in the flat, caught by Bryce Miller. Stiff arms right, to the 10, to the 5, to the end zone! Burrows with the 25-yard touchdown. Tyson Lushik to Bryce Miller, and the first score of 2025 comes from 25 yards out.
Earl back in the gun with Hernandez to his right. Little screen play. This one goes to Parker Polk. Polk gets a block to the 10-yard line to the 5, and he'll hot step in the end zone. Touchdown, Pirates. It's a quick screen to the outside, and this one goes for 21 yards, and Hankinson scores first in the City of Hope scoreboard.
That Owens I formation in the backfield. Here as Lushik turn, rolls, sees pressure, stops, comes back left side. Look, all alone. Gazette, corner of the end zone, touchdown. Gazette sneaking out on a wheel road from the backfield, in for the 16-yard catch, and the touchdown. Burrows extend the lead.
Pistol formation. Rayshawn. Oh, option read. This goes Hernandez. Hernandez will shake and bake in the end zone. Touchdown Pirates from 10 yards.
Set point Swanville. Van Heel to serve. Dead, it's an ace. Van Heel puts it right inside the back line, and we will head to 5.
Piper Thompson. Thompson serve is dug up by Ada-Borup-West. Engel, Severson, big time hammer that time it goes. Melena Severson from Morgan Engel.
Vessel with a laser over the net, kept it nice and low, and it's a point Falcons as Levang was there to handle the ball that just was floating above the net. Back to a 9-8 Park Christian lead.
Shotgun give is to Grubb. Nope, it's a play fake. Gonna look. Trying to go to St. R. Looking for it, and it is caught at the 15, and he is into the end zone for the touchdown. Rudy St. R, the 60-yard touchdown reception, and Ray Powers Lake now leads 12-6. Chance to retake the lead. Fake the give. Back to pass. Looking, firing it, and caught! Touchdown, Northern Cass! Miles Freilich with the touchdown reception, 26 yards, and Northern Cass back out on top, 18-12.
Cougars extending here in this third set. Avery Johnson to serve. Good one. Oh, it's an ace serve. Avery Johnson ace serve. She's had the best night serving.
That was the serve by Anaya Thomas. Swanson over to Kokesh. Kokesh with the kill attempted. Anaya Thomas sets it up for Farah Thomas. And that's going to be Farah Thomas with a Mountain Iron Buell Rangers kill.
Johnson to serve. Sends it deep off the side of Tuba. And Jackson will tap it across. Tigers need one. Brewer sends it deep. Douglas slaps it up. Here's a set to Jackson. Jackson will send it deep to Burns. Johnson left side, it's Dahl, cross court, Douglas with the one-hander. Jackson to Van Heel, cross court. High pass, Wirtz with the bump. Norman on the right side, cross, picked up by Bartell and pushed over. Johnson to the left side to Dahl, Dahl off the tip, and there's Jackson, Hudala with a tip over. Tigers coming back, Wirtz, left side, Dahl, left-handed tip, and it's sent across again by Douglas. Here's Dahl again with a tip. Saved at the net. Free ball down by Brewer. And listen to the PRB crowd.
Oh, what a beautiful serve. Alexa Gregg hitting the gritty as we get a timeout.
Lauren Bassaraba behind the line to serve for International Falls. Received by Anna Holmstrom. Farah Thomas going to hit it over the net. Swanson sets it up. That's Neva Kokesh who sends it over on the line. That is a point for the Broncos.
Carly Hovland, defensive specialist, junior, checks in. She'll do the serving now for the Vikings. West going near side. Messel blows it away. Kirkwood, a valiant effort, but stood no chance as Messelt, with the power, able to find the ground.
12 seconds, 10 seconds. Hintz, little wildcat, if you will. Hintz puts the helmet down. He rumbles his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Pirates.
Welcome to the Your Live Event Coaches Show here. I'm joined by Kirk and Jensen Zink from the Hillsboro-Central Valley cross-country team. And coaches, thank you for taking a little bit of time to join us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Well, good to have you here. And first off, just tell us a little bit about season preview. What do you have for numbers-wise here for athletes this year? Where does that position you for this season?
Yeah, so we started this season with 33 kids. We've got 15 girls, 18 boys. A little heavy on the boys' side than we've had in the past, I would say. Typically, we're pretty split even, but a little bit more boys this year. Probably 5, 6, 7 brand new kids we've never had. They've been awesome to have so far. And then everyone else is returning. We've had them as a 7th grader or as a junior, kind of working our way up. But yeah, good year so far.
Yeah. Good to hear. And I got a chance to see the distance teams from the track and field side at the Grafton meet this last year for regionals, and saw some success there for both sides. Is there any carryover? It might not be an apples to apples comparison, but what does that give you as maybe a gauge or estimate of what you could see on the cross country side this fall?
Yeah, there's a ton of carryover. The 400 to 800 kids, that doesn't necessarily translate to a 5K, but those miler and 2-milers do. If I remember right, I think we had seven kids qualify the 2 mile for state track between boys and girls. Those are all cross kids. It absolutely translates, and some kids will tell you they maybe prefer track if they're more of a sprint kid. Most of the true distance kids seem to prefer cross just because it's a little break in the monotony. You're not running constant circles, same distance, same flat surface, whatever else. So a lot of translation, and yeah, a lot of the positives from last spring, a lot of that depth, a lot of that talent is with us this fall. And like Jensen said, they're fun to have. It's a good group, hardworking group, and very, very coachable. That's really all we ask of those kids this time of year.
Yeah. And one of the athletes that I thought had stood out was seventh grader Claire Grindy, at seventh grader at the time. So she's kind of emerged as maybe one of the stars of this team on the distance side, at least for the track and field side. So when I would go to interview her, she still had more breath than I did when I would go over to talk to her. And she's just finished a 2-mile race. So what does she bring to a team?
Yeah, she's spectacular to have around. She's such a hard worker. We saw that right away last season, right when she started as a seventh grader. Every single day you could ask her to do a bizarre workout and she's going to do it, and she's not really going to complain like some other teams would do. She just gets to work and she gets stuff done. Yeah, last year she was a seventh grade state champion, which we were trying to figure out. We don't think that's ever happened. Class B North Dakota history, so pretty phenomenal there. She's just awesome kid to have around, bubbly. All those seventh grade girls really are, and actually all of our girls are pretty good to have around, all bubbly.
Jensen probably wouldn't tell you, but we've had a ton of uber talented kids over the last 15 years. We've been real fortunate with natural talent combined with real good work ethic, but Claire's a little different. So talented, so physically talented, mentally tough, so positive. She's got a very, very bright future, and she knows it. She doesn't lack confidence, that's for sure, which is great to see from a kid that age. But yeah, she's a lot of fun to work with. Thank God we've got some really good boys to push her in practice, or else she'd be running by herself all day.
Yeah, when I've had the couple chances to talk to her after winning those races, I mean, she kind of just seems that she's got the quiet confidence, but she keeps the business, and she really has that work ethic that is really just a Mamba mentality mindset. I'm just going to go do this without complaining and just going to beat everyone.
Yeah, her biggest issue for us from a coaching standpoint is we spend a lot of time talking that hard days need to be hard and easy days need to be easy. You got to conserve that gas tank and save that energy for the days that matter. The biggest issue for us is slowing her down on slow days. We've got a lot of those scenarios where we like to throw a bunch of kids in a big group and send them out for a long duration. And her biggest issue is pulling the reins back and figuring out pacing stuff and how to conserve energy for the right days. We've had kids like that in the past, and they grow into it, they get it figured out. But she's certainly in a spot where trying to get her to compete is nothing that we need to waste any of our time on. That's all she wants to do.
And for Jensen, just looking back on your highly decorated running career with HCV, is there any of yourself that you see in Claire, any of the other athletes, just with the work ethic, and then already off to such a good start for Claire?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to compare, obviously. I mean, I don't know how I was from a coaching aspect. I would like to think I was amazing to have as a athlete. But I would say a lot of the girls on our side, or boys too, they just like to keep things positive. They like to have fun with it, which is something I like to do, especially towards the end, was just, I obviously have to run, I have to get it done, but I'm going to make fun of, or I'm going to have fun with it. And I think all of our kids do that. Hardly ever any complaining, girls and boys side. And then, yeah, that group of girls, they know how to joke around and they know how to have fun too, which is something I think I did.
I can answer a little bit of that. The best comparison between the two of them is they were ornery competitive. I've got so many pictures from Jensen as a 85-pound seventh grader, the last 200 meters of a starting line, and the look on her face, the grit on her face. I've shown a lot of kids those pictures over the years, and I've said this is what distance running should look like. It's not a summer 5K at the lake. We're not out for a 5K run. This is a race, and everybody in that event is trying to beat you. You need to do the same. And that's the mentality with Claire. It doesn't matter. Last year there were events. Seventh grade, we'd throw her into a varsity race, and I think the first event, the first larger race that she ran, we throw her into a big race at Dragon Twilight down at Moorhead State, and an absolute hammer of a mid-distance girl from Minnesota. 400, 800, maybe up to a mile track, absolute stud. And we're thinking there's not a chance. Well, she goes out and she runs the first mile way too fast. And it's just all she wants to do is win every single race. And it doesn't matter where we throw her. We run a real meat grinder of a schedule. We go to some big events, big races, and she's never been nervous with it. She's never been concerned. It's never stressed her out. I shouldn't say that.
Doesn't show it.
She doesn't show that it stresses her out. Doesn't let her affect her race day preparation or execution at all. She is a stud.
Yeah. And just across the board with the team in general, you've mentioned that they're coachable. They've got some toughness to them. So how important is that in a sport where it's just as much mental as it is physical to outrace an opponent?
Yeah, for sure. We kind of work on that all the time. Just, you got to make sure that when you're coming down the finish line, I think he uses the analogy a lot, or just the example a lot. If you turn and someone next to you is panting and they're dying coming down the finish line and you're strong, you're going to be able to beat them. So we try to kind of put that mentality into practice. These earlier weeks and months, we just kind of train them to the point where they have that endurance to do so. And then we kind of later on focus on the nitty-gritty or the nitpicky things to really focus on there. But yeah, they're awesome across the board. I mean, last year I had the boys group, and I think probably will be the same this year. You tell them to do something, you say we're going to run this many paced runs, and they'll do it. I mean, if they're off on their pace, they're mad, but they're going to correct for the next one and try to do what they can to fix it. And I think that's the mentality across the entire team, is working on being the best version of themselves for the end of the season.
Yeah. And we've talked a little bit about the girls' side with Claire and other standouts there. So how about for the guys' side? Are there any standouts or athletes poised for maybe a breakout season, a step in the right direction?
Jensen's brothers clearly are leader on the boys' side. Nico is a senior. He's a returning all-state kid. Super naturally talented from his mom's side of the family, and hardworking kid, coachable kid. Kind of in an odd spot because of the fact that Class B boys is so deep right now. It is so outrageously talented. There's spots in history where you could throw him in there and he's an outside possibility of a state champ. In today's day and age, with some of these kids, he just knows, he runs really, really well. He's 5th or 6th or 8th or whatever in the state meet. And beyond fine with that. In like I said, in today's day and age, where Class B boys is at, fifth place would be outrageous. Beyond that, though, we've got some good boys. We've got Seth Smallbeck's a returning all-region kid, a super hard worker. Justin Torrell is one of those natural 400, 800 kids that that has made a real nice transition into the 5K. Ross Hamry and Rylan Carlson are two sophomores that are clearly on paper going to round out our top 5. Beyond that, we've got some other good sophomores. We've got some good young kids coming up, and it's going to be fun to watch those boys. But they certainly have different goals than the girls. They just do, and they know that. I'm sure they're sick of that, and I'm sure they've been sick of it for a long time. But it is what it is. We've got a lot more natural talent on the girls' side right now. And a lot of that stuff is cyclical, but man, we've been in this girls' cycle of good kids for a long time. We've been fortunate there.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, what are some aspirations or goals you'd like to see the team working to compete towards this season?
I mean,
she's pretty modest, so we'll see how this shakes out.
right. Obviously, we've got so many girls. We've got 3 returning all-state girls. I believe they could all be all-state again. And then we've got a few other girls that just missed out last year or are wanting to do it this year. And I think we could most likely do that. With the talent they have, the work ethic they have, I think it's very doable. And then, of course, you want to round it out with the state title, but obviously knock on wood for that. But that would be awesome. I think a lot of these girls kind of expect it, which isn't good. He always says you hate to get to the point where you're more nervous about losing than you are more excited about winning. So I hope that they don't think, well, I have to win this year because we won last year. And if that does happen, they're happy to win and not just excited they didn't lose.
Cross country is a beautiful sport in the fact that you step on the line and you run for yourself. It's an individual sport. You can be as good or as bad as you want to be. But on the same token, after the race is done, you add up team scores and there's a winner and a lot of losers. And like Jensen said on the girls' side, I hope they have huge goals. On paper, yeah, they're probably a favorite to win the region, the East region, and possibly a favorite to win a state title. But man, a little bit like the individual side on the boys, the girls' team side is outrageous. I said last year going into the state meet, I said whatever team gets third between us, Bowman, and Killdeer, that is the best and deepest third place team in North Dakota Class B history. Because and this is in no way to sound arrogant or conceited at all, but there are 3 teams that right now just are naturally so much deeper than others, and it's those same 3. Bowman is good all the time in everything, dominate the boys' side too. Killdeer's girls have so many elite kids, and they've got depth. All of our rosters are so similar. We've got young, absolute hammers. We talk all the time about Claire. We overlook Caroline Anderson so much, it's outrageous. Caroline Anderson is potentially one of our best runners in history. And she's an 8th grader, and she gets overlooked so bad because Claire is there. Well, I remember asking Jensen this once back in the day. She ran with Reagan Baszler, who was a 4-time state champ. I said, would you have rather that Reagan was not there and you were a big fish in a small pond, or Reagan is there and you're second tier on the team, but you're fighting for state titles every year? And she says, obviously, I'd rather have her there. These kids, I would all but guarantee Claire was more excited to win a team state title than she was an individual state title. It's so fun watching those girls stand around as results are announced and they work their way from 5th to 4th, and the excitement builds and so on. And it's going to be fun to watch with these guys. Like I said, there's a lot of talent. So you're looking at all region titles, then you're looking at region team titles, then you're looking at all state honors, and then placement at the state meet. And everybody's got goals. I hope they have high goals. Otherwise, I don't want to do this if we don't have high goals. It's just, that's the way I want to work. I want them to work in the summer. I want them to prepare in the fall. And that's the goal all the time.
And then on the boys' side, last year we just fell out of the top 5 for first time in a while, and I know the boys were beyond disappointed with that, and nothing more you can do than step forward and keep working this next year. But I would say that's probably one of their goals, is to return back to that top 5 position. They can do it, like he said. Bowman, you don't want to say they're unbeatable, but that boys team is just they're unbeatable.
They're unbeatable.
That boys team
for us, they're unbeatable.
Yes, they're just phenomenal, and across the board. There's a few good teams like that it's hard to beat them when we lost a few kids and we've got one all-state kid, maybe 2, maybe 3. It's just hard to do that when they're going to put 5 in the top 10. But I would say they want to work towards that podium and get back up there again.
Awesome. Well, anything else that we need to cover before we sign off here? It's been a great time having you guys on. Sounds like there's a great team environment going on this year.
I hope so. That's what we talk about all the time, is we hope we've got the culture that drives kids to come out first and foremost. And then once they're there, they go, this isn't as hard as I thought, and I'm having more fun running than I thought and whatever. So I tell everybody, every interview we do, I appreciate this stuff like crazy. Cross country doesn't get the publicity that volleyball gets or football gets or basketball gets. So like I said, anytime that you let us blabber, we love to do it and excited about it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for joining me, and we look forward to seeing how the Burros cross country season turns out this year.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is the Zinks joining us here on the Your Live Event Coaches Show.
Don't be fooled by that beat-up old cap. Its faded crown represents the tireless work of America's farmers and ranchers. Its sturdy brim, their dedication to providing our nation with a safe, affordable food source. So we'd like to tip our hat to them. Farmers Union Insurance, protecting those that protect America's food source.
Visit with Ryan Opdahl, your local Farmers Union Insurance agent in Hillsboro.
Stay up to date all year long with your live event from our social platforms with X, Facebook, and YouTube. From the latest coaches show to watch game broadcasts back on demand from earlier in the season. Search your live event on YouTube and hit subscribe.
Outside the three-point arc. Pick and pop here with Spaeth into the left side corner. 3, good.
For the complete and most up-to-date schedule throughout the year, head to our website at yourliveevent.com.
With the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show, we welcome in Tyler Hennen, head coach of Ada-Borup-West Cross Country. And Tyler, thanks for the time here today as we get to talk about the first meet of the year. Look forward to the next one coming up here as you got things started off last week with the run around the lake at Detroit Lakes, and then you went to Perham as well too on Saturday, and talk about those first couple events and how things went for the team.
Yeah, we went to DL for that Make the Lake practice. It's just a run. Every kid from our team ran 5 miles, and they did great. I think our boys made the decision or determined that they were the very first ones back on the 5-mile route, but so that was kind of cool. Yeah, they had a good practice, and we went to our meet in Perham, had high expectations. They've been killing it in the workouts, the runs, doing all the little things, stretching, working on the weight room, doing all sorts of little things like that. But our girls had a solid race. Brienne was like 2 minutes faster than last season on average, and she ran junior high. So that was a huge confidence boost for her, I'm sure. 40 seconds behind the school record already, and the season's just starting. So that's awesome. Newcomer Jenna, she ran, a near top 10 best in our school. So she's, hopefully gonna crack that list here soon. And then Adeliza, I think she was 4 minutes faster than last season to start the year. So girls jumped out to a really good start. I was really happy with their performance. And then the boys, we had Hudson Kappas and uh, Blaine Thompson. They ran, and Levi Donovan. They ran the junior high race. All three ran well. Levi had a little injury. He's fine, but he couldn't quite finish the race. But his first mile was excellent. He was in the mix with a really solid group. And then Hudson came in and he set the bar high for himself. His goal that he set at the beginning of the year is very attainable, as well as Blaine. Hudson and Blaine both ran a very consistent race. Everybody kind of ran a little fast to start. So that's something that we're going to work on for the next race. Don't start out so fast, and then you'll have a little bit more in the tank. And then for our varsity boys, we had Chase Chisholm, Mason Chisholm, and Beckett Auden. Chase, newcomer, ran an excellent first 5K, almost breaking 20 minutes, which it's pretty hard for your average runner. So yeah, Chase starting at that point, it was better than my very first 5K, so that's awesome. And then Beckett came in. He had a big day of golfing the day before, so he was a little bit tired. So his race kind of suffered a little bit. I think he lived and learned from that mistake. But his first mile was pretty solid. He just kind of ran out of gas. But I'm expecting a big jump from him in Breckenridge next week or this coming Thursday. And then Mason Chisholm, he ran a good race. Very consistent, just like his brother Chase. Couple minutes behind him, but Chase has been on the track team for a few years now, and he's a good distance runner. So having Mason out there competing with them, it's been awesome for them to see what they can do together. But yeah, our team did pretty well at Perham.
You talking about these early season races of looking at where your baseline is. How do you, as a coach, working with the runners, go and establish that? For returning athletes, do you look at where they were at the end of last year or at this same time in August of this year?
Yeah, you kind of look at like how they did in the summer. Did they do summer training? Our guys and girls, they kind of they do other sports in the summer, so their running kind of lacks a little bit. And they know that they should be running a little bit more, but yeah, you can't force them, and I don't think that they necessarily need to. It's just always a bonus to put in some summer miles. But yeah, so I kind of gauge off of what they did last year at the beginning of the year. And so looking back from our four returners, excuse me, they all improved except, well, Danny, he hasn't ran yet because he had the state fair this weekend. But yeah, so they've shown improvement from even just the start of last season. And then our newcomers, they were really close to where our returners are. So I think they've been good leaders. At practice, at the meets, showing the ropes to these new athletes that came out. Yeah, so it's just like at the end of the year, that comes with time. You're not gonna run your best time at the first meet of the year if you don't, put in all that work in the off season. So I like to look at where they were at the start of the season last year and then just kind of gauge off of that. And so I'm very happy with where everyone's at.
Realizing everyone's different, so it is kind of hard to gauge as a whole. But for this team to reach those goals, those benchmarks they want to do, where does that improvement come from that they have to work on to hit those marks?
Well, it means just practice. You put in the miles. It's all the little things, all the easy runs that we do, all those 4 mile runs, the 5 mile runs, 3 mile, it's all those things that kind of build on each other. We call it your base. You kind of build up your base, and running starts to get easier we go to the workouts. I set their goals based on how they perform at the races. And so they kind of get an idea of where they're at based on their practices. So if they're, doing well at practice, like the workouts, if we run, 1,000-meter repeats and they kill it on that day, I know like, hey, they're making improvements. And they know that, okay, so I maybe ran this at Perham, but now, I had a really good workout. Today is our workout. If they have a good workout today, they know that, hey, I can probably run faster at Breckenridge. Breckenridge is a little bit tougher of a course, but, it's all sorts of things play into it. It's going to be a little warmer. It's later in the day. It's hillier. It's just all those little things kind of play into it. But
being later in the day and things like that with this Breckenridge race, would you say it's more similar to what they're going to be seeing throughout the rest of the year and kind of give them an opportunity to learn to run in those circumstances?
yeah, so as the year goes on, it obviously gets colder, but most of our races are more of your 4 o'clock range, 3:30, 4 o'clock. We except for Border Battle, which is later in the season in Grand Forks. That's in the morning, and the state meet, if they make it, that'll be in the morning. I guess it kind of depends, but yeah. So running in the afternoon, especially early in the season, it does get hot. So there are some runners that perform better in the heat, or they don't perform as well in the heat. So it just kind of depends. And everybody's got to run through it, so it doesn't really matter the variables, but everybody's got to run as best they can, and hopefully the results show.
Coach Tyler Hennen for Ada-Borup-West Cross Country, join us here as we are on the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. And Coach, last thing here, just talk about the season outlook. I know we got the one down, but still early in the season. What's the goals, the expectations when we hit that section meet time?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that our girls, kind of come together and run well. Keep dropping time. I was very happy with the start of the season. I hope Brianne, keeps chopping away at her record. I think she broke it like 4 or 5 times last year. So, keep grinding at that, and Jenna just kind of trying to stay as close as she can to Brianne. It's a big team thing there. You can't get mad if like a teammate ends up, catching you or passing you, but that's always fun. And yeah, it just trying to keep on. Our boys. We actually have a team this year. We have to have one of our seventh graders kind of move up to the varsity level. New thing implemented. You can't have a kid start on varsity and then go down to junior high. So I have to pick the right moment for one of my seventh graders to come up and join the 4 varsity boys, so that we have 5 athletes to get a team score. So that's something we're all looking forward to, is how do we match up against all these other schools. So later in the year, look for one of our seventh graders to make that jump and start getting some team scores.
Well, it'll be good to see, and I'm sure a thrilling moment for them to get up to that varsity level as well too. So, Tyler, thanks so much for the time here today. Appreciate it. Good to chat with you here, and look forward to seeing how the kids go at run on this season.
All right, thank you.
Live, work, and play here in Hillsboro, North Dakota. The Hillsboro Economic Development Committee can assist you with information and support for business and housing. Experience Hillsboro. More at 104.
Join us here from the Central Cast Squirrels for our senior spotlight is Aiden Wunderlich, as he'll be making his way after this year, making his way to the University of North Dakota, a football commit for the Fighting Hawks as well. Aiden, before we talk about college and your future, let's talk about your senior year here for Central Cast. Just what are you most excited for as a student, as an athlete here one more time, in Castleton?
Yeah, I think I'm most excited just for one last ride. It's not like I'm getting to come back next year like I have been before. It's all or nothing. So, I think our main goal this season is, every season is to win a state championship, but I think this is the group of guys that can get that done.
Obviously, a lot of folks have been talking about it in the offseason and even to start the year here, making that jump from 1A to 2A. There's going to be some teams that you've seen from a year ago, like a Devils Lake, like a Kindred, but then you're also going to be playing new teams that you haven't seen with the Grand Forks schools and stuff of that nature. So, what are just your thoughts, Aiden, on moving up a class, so to speak, this year for high school football?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're completely ready for it. Moving up the class, everyone's bigger, faster, stronger. But I think this offseason, we've also gotten bigger, faster, stronger. And we're not going to back down from anyone. And, we're excited for every game. We're not treating any game light.
What do you enjoy about being a lineman, and what would you kind of tell someone that wants to be an offense or defensive lineman? What would be some of your thoughts, just in terms of what that skill group and position group is all about?
Yeah, I mean, I think the brotherhood, that's such a connected group on the field. If one guy's wrong, the whole line's wrong. And just, even off the field too, our starting line this year is pretty much just our friend group too, like we're all best buds on the line. And so it's a really fun position.
When it comes to some of your goals, you maybe hinted on it a little bit. Let's just talk about as an offensive lineman. I know stats are easy for wide receivers, running backs, linebackers and such, but a lineman sometimes, maybe don't get all the glory because you're taking up a hole, so to speak. If you're a defensive lineman, and if you're an offensive lineman, you might be asked to pull and kick out someone or pass protect. So what are some goals as a lineman that you have throughout the course of a game or throughout the course of a season here, Aiden?
I mean, yeah, I'd just say staying consistent and disciplined. You can't get lazy when you get tired. That's a huge thing we live by. Just you don't want to, you let up one sack a game. That's really not ideal for being an O lineman. So just staying consistent.
As a team, just what do you want to see from your squad? Win, lose, or draw, when someone comes watches Central Cast football on a Friday night, what do you want people to take away from watching what the Squirrels can put on the football field every Friday night?
Yeah, I mean, I just think we always want to be the most competitive and physical team on the field. We've kind of switched up our practices this year to make them as competitive as possible, to make games as competitive as possible. So I'd say, yeah, that's the biggest thing, just us being competitive at all times.
Couple more memories just on football here before we kind of get to the get to know you phase of the interview here, Aiden. Favorite football memory to this point, whether it's as a player, could be as a fan, could be going to a game with folks. Just what's one or two favorite memories that just kind of jumps off the page for you?
I think a lot of my teammates would agree with me on this one. It's got to be the team meals on Thursday nights before games. That's a big thing for our team. It's the whole team in the lunchroom just chatting and having fun, eating good food. It's everyone enjoys it. It's a good time.
Take us through, whether it's Tommy Butler to a coach Tyler Wasleen to a coach Butler, anybody that you interact with. What are some things and traits that you've taken from your coaches that you take with you off the field, but also that you hope to take with you once you get up to Grand Forks in college?
Yeah, I mean, all of our coaches are always juiced up. They're never, not wanting to coach or teach us stuff. They're always juiced up. And I think that's something I've really been trying to take from them is just, always got to have a good mindset towards everything. Never want to get lazy or mopey with anything, because that's never how they are. They're always ready to go.
Is there a particular trait when it comes to being superstitious before a Friday night game, or something you have to do leading up to the game week, whether it's as a team or as an individual, Aiden, or is it let's just pop the shoulder pads on and let's get to work?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, yeah, I'm not super superstitious myself. It's kind of like you said, just pop the shoulder pads on. So I mean, yeah, I guess I get a little quiet before games. Not honestly, no idea why. It just kind of happens, but nothing crazy. Like I got to wear the same socks every game or anything like that. It's pretty much just play.
You mentioned a favorite pregame meal there, just coming together with the guys on Thursday. Is there a particular food item that you really enjoy, for a pregame meal that night before the day of?
It's always pasta night. I bet everyone on the team would agree with that. It's always pasta night.
Favorite class that you've taken at Central Cast? What's something you really enjoyed learning about in Castleton?
Probably this is actually with Coach Butler, our coaching class. That was really interesting to me.
Yeah, go ahead. I was just going to say, what was something that really stood out in that class, Aiden?
Yeah, it was just kind of, I took it because it was with my football coach, figured it'd be fun, but I actually took away a lot of valuable stuff. It's just, there's a lot of stuff you don't think about when it comes to coaching, just, with helping out athletes and all of that.
From there, take us through your recruitment to the University of North Dakota. Obviously, as most people know, there was a coaching change from Coach Swigert to Coach Eric Schmidt. But just what made Bubba, what made Eric Schmidt, what made UND just be the right fit for you, Aiden, at the end of the day here?
Yeah, I think, the coaching staff or the coaching change was a huge thing for me, I really liked him before, and Coach Olson, he stayed. I really like Coach Olson. We have a really good connection. And then, when I finally met Coach Schmidt, I really, really like what he's all about. He was coaching Washington in the national championship game a couple years back now, and he's running UND the same way they were over at Washington. And so I think that's a big deal for me, just the nutrition side of things and their brand new facilities, everything kind of aligned, and I think it's a really good fit for me.
Take us through what you're going to be studying academically once you get onto campus there.
I'm going to study mechanical engineering.
Okay, what made mechanical engineering just be something you want to learn, more about once you get to that next level of schooling?
Yeah, so my grandpa actually was an engineer, and so kind of the reason I want to do it is me and him are almost the same person. So kind of just, if he could do it, and I enjoy all the stuff it's about. So, it's kind of just interested me.
I take it a lot of family members say that you have the same traits as your grandpa then. Aiden, is that fair to say? And what maybe would be some of those traits if you're the same person?
Yeah, that's pretty fair. We're both kind of laid back, it's, we're never really too loud or anything like that. We're just kind of laid back, and you just kind of think the same way. I don't know how to really explain it even, but yeah, we're just really similar people.
Before we got to the interview, I asked, just because we are seeing it from a high school level, more and more kids moving on from high school to college. We've heard it many times, particularly with UND, NDSU football, even now being in the FCS for well over a decade plus here, Aiden. So you will be, after the football season, after this semester wraps up for Castleton, you'll be making your way up early to Grand Forks. Just take us through that decision and how difficult was it for you to say, okay, I got 4 months left of high school, but I'm going to forego that to get to college and get to campus and get to that. So how tough of a decision was that for you and your family, Aiden?
Yeah, so kind of my reasoning was, what I'm going to miss mainly is basketball and track, which, to be completely honest, the reasons I really enjoy those sports, but the main reason I'm in them is to get better at football, as a lot of football guys are in those sports. So, to me, I kind of looked at it as either, I could stay and do those and finish out high school, or I could go get a jump start on my degree and get a jump start, start playing spring ball and get to do winter workouts when I get up there. So honestly, to me, it was kind of a no-brainer. I really want to get up there. And so getting to get there early and get around the guys, the coaches, get on all their programs and all of that, it was a big deal to me, something I really wanted to do.
Just a couple more questions for you, Aiden, before we let you go. From a mentality of talking with a middle schooler, talking with someone who's chomping at the bit to get their first opportunity at the varsity level, maybe as an underclassman, what would be some words of advice that you'd like to pass down for the next group of football players coming up that want to have maybe an opportunity like yourself to play collegiately or have a chance to, maybe play at that next level?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is you always got to stay hungry. You can't just come to practice and go home. You got to do stuff after. You got to do stuff in the off season, in the weight room, field work, all that type of stuff. And, another big thing is you got to study film. You always got to know what you're doing. You want to know what the other guy's doing too, that you're going against. So, like I said earlier, the biggest thing is just staying hungry.
But final thing for me, Aiden, before you let you go, what do you enjoy most as an individual, as a team, about Friday Night Lights? What do you just, when you wake up and you're like, all right, it's game day. It's finally the end of the week. It's Friday against whoever we're playing, home game, road game. What do you enjoy most about Friday Night Lights?
Yeah, there's nothing better than getting a win, getting to go celebrate after with your team and, just especially after a hard fought game, a close game, there's nothing better than that. Just the thrill of that, afterwards, especially just everyone's always super excited after every win. That's a big deal. That's something that's really special. You can't really recreate that.
Hey, Aiden, thanks so much for your time. Best of luck moving forward here this football season for Central Cass, and as well once you make your way up to Grand Forks as well for UND football.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That does it for the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show. Join us a week from tonight as we get to our first one in the month of September, and that means the seasons will be changing a little bit as well. A lot more volleyball talk coming up, some more cross country, golf, that and more with football as well. Again, I'm Chase Miller. Thanks so much for tuning in to the YourLiveEvent.com Coaches Show, presented to you by the Hillsboro Economic Development Corporation.